At the beginning of the movie, a lone hitman wipes out the Gambino crime family, leaving no survivors in his wake. A lone FBI Treasury agent responds. But he is soon held at gunpoint by the hitman. We then meet Christian Wolff, a genius accountant blessed with autism, running a small firm in Chicago. But Christian isn't just an accountant, he is a former soldier with lethal skills. An arsenal of weapons that not even the FBI could imagine. As a child, Christian's autism was uncontrollable, so much so his parents tried seeking professional help at the Harbor Neuroscience facility. He had issues with loud sounds, bright lights, and emotional connection, which his mother found hard to deal with, calling him a problem. On the other hand, Chris's father, a U.S. Army PSYOPs officer, felt differently. Instead of shunning Chris like his wife, or trying to shelter him like the therapist, he thinks Chris would benefit better by facing his irritations and shortcomings, noting that the world is a harsh place and he must learn to survive in it. During this conversation, Chris's younger brother Braxton just sits in silence, always at his brother's side. Meanwhile, Chris works on a puzzle. When he loses a piece, he starts to throw a tantrum, trying to stim himself by repeating the Solomon Grundy nursery rhyme. And there he makes a friend, a small autistic girl named Justine. Chris's mother eventually left the family, leaving the boys in the care of their father. But the plans he had for them would change the entire course of their lives forever. The events of the movie start to unfold when Chris helps his neighbors, the Rices, with their taxes. They're having money issues.
I never thought of myself as a quitter.
But this year's taxes on our credit card.
But when Chris finds out Mrs. Rice makes necklaces out of her home, he prompts them to say they have a home business, which would get them a deductible.
You might have what the IRS calls a home-based business. How big is your dining room?
Make it 300 square feet.
Excellent.
The Rices are extremely happy, so when Mr. Rice learns that Chris likes to shoot, he invites him over to his farm anytime. Chris's relatively normal routine is about to take a nosedive when he comes under the radar of the FBI. Financial Crimes Director Ray King calls FBI analyst Mary Beth Medina into his office. He goes over her file, but this isn't a routine meeting. He has discovered that she lied on her application, hiding an extensive criminal record which she thought was sealed.
Well, you're a liar, Medina.
Those records were sealed.
Her deception could result in her receiving prison time, and Medina thinks she's being
You
sacked.
better sit your ass back down in that chair, young lady.
But King has another option. In return for keeping her secret, he has a personal mission he needs taken care of. King shows her photos she identifies as high-profile criminals recently arrested, but he hints there's something she is missing.
Look at the rest. Tell me what you see. Focus. They're not all arrests.
Then she sees it, a figure in a suit, present in all the photos. He goes by many aliases including Lou Carroll and Carl Gauss, has been cited all over the world, but is only known as the accountant, the sole figure responsible for keeping the underworld afloat. Medina's mission is to find this accountant and report only to King and no one else. If she fails, then it's prison for her. Chris returns home. He has dinner, displaying his usual habit of blowing on his fingertips before getting into something he loves. Later he purposely overstimulates himself playing loud music, activating a strobe light and rolling a wooden pole down his shin to condition himself. The following day he takes up the Rices on their offer to shoot at their farm, blowing on his fingertips as he is about to eat this shot up. Mr. Rice sees his mile-long setup and thinks he must be crazy, but almost craps himself when Chris expertly snipes his targets at the distance.
Holy shit.
Later he goes by a private storage unit, and here we see the full extent of Chris's double life. Inside a trailer, he has an armory of weapons that could rival a small nation, cash, fake passports, an original Luke Skywalker lightsaber, and even an authentic Pollock attached to his ceiling. There's a flashback to a time Christian spent in military prison after an incident at his mother's funeral, where he met bookkeeper Francis, who worked for the Gambino crime family, and who noticed his gift and taught him everything about money laundering and the underworld. The next morning, Chris gets a call from his handler. She has picked up chatter online about people looking for him, so to avoid unnecessary movement, she gives him a legitimate client, Living Robotics, who are in need of an accountant. The handler then advises him she has a buyer for the Pollock.
The
Pollock can move. Will you ever let it go?
But Chris refuses to part with it just yet. At Living Robotics, Chris meets with CFO Ed Chilton and Rita, the Treasury Director. Ed swears that some junior accountant simply made a mistake and there's no missing money, but Chris is blunt, and based on Ed's overreaction, he demands to see the books from the day he started his position 15 years ago.
Well, you're awful goddamn blunt.
Ed is pissed, but Rita has heard of Chris's genius-level gift with numbers.
I don't discuss client business.
Medina starts her investigations. She first researches the accountant's aliases but finds no connection there, so she sends the best picture she has of him to get face mapped. Chris meets Living Robotics founder Lamar, who expresses how much the company means to him. His focus has never been numbers, so he wants Chris to be his eyes and ears, offering him anything he needs to do his job. That night in Zurich, CEO of Dewey Capital Simon Dewey enters his car when an assassin enters with him. This assassin turns out to be Braxton. Simon has been shorting the stock of his client, which has made him millions, but at his client's expense.
People fucking amazing.
Luckily, they just want him to stop. Turns out Simon has been shorting lots of companies, but Braxton refuses to say who his client is, so he's just going to have to stop shorting them all. Simon thinks it's impossible until a strike to the throat changes his mind. Chris gets into the office the next morning to start working when he meets Dana,
Hello.
the junior accountant that found the discrepancy. She has organized the files he wanted for him, but her small talk annoys Christian, who hints for her to leave.
Make your own assessment.
Yes, thank you.
Dana learns that the face she sent over matched a video in the NYPD database of a lone hitman who wiped out the Gambino family,
Headshot, headshot, headshot.
killing the boss with a single kick to the head. They have audio from inside the building, so Medina wants it sent over. Chris sits for lunch, which happens to be next to Dana, who begins to engage him in small talk, eventually coming to sit beside him. Chris starts to warm up to her,
I have a pocket protector.
and the two talk for a while. When Chris gets back to the office, the true work begins. He blows his fingers, ready to eat up some numbers. After just a few hours, Chris goes through the entire 15-year financial history of Living Robotics, the glass windows of the office covered in numbers. Medina goes over the audio file, where she just hears the crime boss begging for his life. But after some adjustments, she picks out a faint sound which turns out to be someone repeating the Solomon Grundy nursery rhyme. When Dana returns to the office, Chris excitedly shows her his findings.
You went through 15 overnight?
It's not even the...
He has discovered that a company owned by Ed has been leaking cash while still recording increasing profits. Rita then enters the room and learns that a total of $62 million has disappeared from the company. That night, Ed is in his home when Braxton, along with two men, appear there. Braxton is giving him the opportunity to end himself, so his family can cash out his insurance policy by overdosing on his insulin injections. If they have to fight, then they'll have to fake a home invasion and violate his wife before killing her. Ed breaks down, but Braxton tells him to make his decision. Chris returns to the office the next day to see all his work being cleaned away and packed up. Lamar enters the office revealing that Ed is dead. Ed was his best friend for years, and he now blames himself for causing his death. Chris begs to finish his work, an impulse caused by his autism, but Lamar tells him it's over.
I'm not finished. I'm not finished with this.
Bye, Chris.
Bothered by not being able to complete his task, Chris blasts his music, turns up the strobe, and starts punishing his shins with the roller. The next day he sets out to the Rices and is being followed. Chris has another flashback to his childhood, recalling his father training both he and Braxton relentlessly in martial arts, teaching them to channel their aggression. The car that followed Chris turns out to be the two men working for Braxton, who invade the Rice's home in order to bait Chris. One man drags Mrs. Rice to the door, ordering her to call the accountant.
Christian!
But he gets his head taken off by Chris with the rifle. Chris then disables their car with 2 shots, so the second man drags the couple to their truck. They don't get far before Chris blows the tires out. Mr. Rice fights off the attacker, allowing Christian to jump onto the truck and pull the man through the back window. The man pulls a knife, but Christian proceeds to beat him down armed with just his belt. He He demands to know who sent him, but the man only had orders to kill both he and Dana. Chris races back to his storage unit. He contacts the handler to clean out his accounts and kill every trace of him as he knows he's being hunted. The handler knows about Dana and warns that she is not his problem.
She is not your problem.
But Chris requests her address and contact number, unable to just leave her to die. Meanwhile, Dana is entering her apartment when Chris arrives to see her being followed. A man trails Dana to her floor, but stops when he sees a delivery team. Dana enters her apartment, but it's the delivery team who burst in to eliminate her. She fights back and locks herself inside the bathroom. By this time, Chris makes it to the floor, taking out both men posted there. Dana is about to be killed when Chris bursts in and takes them both out. Braxton gets news about the deaths of his guys. Unaware the accountant is his brother, he plans to go after the man himself. Chris brings Dana back to his storage locker, asking her to wait outside as he prepares his stuff, but Dana can't help but enter. She starts snooping and comes across his stacks of cash and his arsenal of weapons until Chris tells her to stop digging around. She wonders what kind of accountant he is, but Chris has no time to explain, noting that he has jeopardized his routine for her and they need to get going.
Tell me that's not an original Pollock.
Medina has the audio file analyzed and learns that based on the rhyme, the tone and the repetitiveness, her suspect could be a trauma victim or have some type of autism. Dana gets an idea. She digs back into the accountant's aliases and realizes they are all mathematical geniuses, both having some type of autism. Chris and Dana arrive at a hotel. He reveals whoever took the cash was slowly putting it back into the company and suspects Ed's death was a cover-up. Dana wonders where he learned to fight and learns that Chris's father had them move all over the world training with a number of specialists. He opens up to her about his autism, his struggles, and the urge he has to overcome them. Chris then figures out what happened with Living Robotics. He knew of a mobster who inflated his company by leaking cash and reinvesting it back into the business in preparation for going public. They suspect Rita, but why hire Chris if she knew he would figure her out? Chris plans to get answers. His handler pleads with him to just disappear, wondering why he's sticking his neck out for someone he's only known for a week. Chris can't bring himself to say he likes her, but wants to find whoever is trying to kill Dana and eliminate them. Chris gets to Rita's home when he spots a figure leaving unaware it's Braxton. Chris follows from a distance, but Braxton knows he's there. In a flash, Braxton spins and lets off shots at Chris, who evades. But Braxton disappears right after. When Chris enters Rita's home, she is already dead. Medina is closing in on the accountant, narrowing down her search of aliases to Christian Wolff. The first is a bust, but the second catches her attention. This Christian owns the ZZZ accounting firm and files returns for all the businesses around it, which also turn out to be partners of his business. Medina returns to King with her findings. Christian Wolff has been using his ZZZ accounting and surrounding businesses to launder cash, which he donates to the Harbor Neuroscience Laboratory. King wonders why he would launder all his money just to give it away, but Medina thinks the accountant may be collecting other means of payment. King then tells her to pack a bag as they're going to Chicago.
I got him right.
Chris returns to the hotel room to find Dana sleeping. He has a flashback to an instance during his childhood when his father made him fight some bullies who had broken his glasses.
Sooner or later, different scares people. Go.
His father's words that being different scares people ring in his mind, so Chris decides to disappear, leaving a note behind for her. Medina, King, and an FBI team scour Christian's home. They find security cameras mounted all around the backyard, and King thinks the entire front of the house is vulnerable until they find a mounted machine gun aimed towards the entrance. After the other agents leave, King sits alone with Medina. He wants to know the story behind her criminal record and learns that she attacked a drug dealer and left him for dead after he sold her sister drugs. King thinks that's a rough story, but she doesn't believe he knows what rough is. King then has a flashback. Turns out King was the Treasury agent assigned to Francis, who became an informant for the FBI while in prison. King failed to provide Francis with the protection he needed, and he was tortured and killed by the Gambino boss. After this, he was a part of the task force to take the Gambino family down for the murder when the accountant attacked the base. He rushed in to confront the killer and got ambushed. The accountant could have killed him, but spared his life, and that moment changed his life forever. He had planned to leave the department when he got a call from the accountant's handler, who started helping him put together high-profile cases.
All those cases you put together.
Medina wonders who he really is, but all King has are redacted records with little information. The accountant joined the military along with his father. Both turned up to the accountant's mother's funeral, where her new family were present. A fight broke out. Cops got involved, and the accountant's father was killed. King then reveals he wants Medina to succeed him, to answer the handler when she calls.
Somebody needs to be there to answer.
Medina refuses, unable to see herself working with a criminal. Just then the phone rings. Medina answers, and it's the handler who reveals she has eyes on them both, instructing her to write down the name Living Robotics. At Lamar's home, it's revealed that Braxton was employed by him to take out Ed and Rita. They failed to kill the accountant, and Lamar suspects he is in danger, so he has Braxton post men outside his home. Braxton is intrigued about the accountant as it reminds him of someone, but before Lamar can say further, an explosion goes off and they lose contact with one of their men. It's Christian, who has already taken out the guys outside. He sets up a sniper rifle and picks off a guy peeping out the window, then unloads on the home, forcing Braxton and his men to take cover. The shooting stops, so Braxton sends 4 guys to push on the sniper while he keeps eyes on the cameras. The men throw smoke grenades as cover, but Christian picks off the first man. He then engages in a shootout with the others, but his marksmanship and constant movement make him a hard target, and he soon takes out all the men. Christian moves into the home where he takes a bullet but kills his attacker. Others try to push on him, but they're no match for Christian in close combat. He continues pushing through the men until he encounters a skilled fighter. None of his moves will work as the man keeps hitting him with strikes, but Christian manages to drop a flashbang down his ballistic vest and hold him until it explodes. Braxton is then shocked to see that his older brother is the accountant. Christian runs into another mercenary with a shotgun, but Braxton quickly kills him. The two then finally reunite, and Christian greets him with a simple hello. Braxton is pissed, as he's been looking for his brother for over 10 years. Christian needs to finish his task, but Braxton demands to know why he and Pop had to go to the funeral. Braxton attacks him, blaming him for their father's death. Chris refuses to fight, tanking all of his brother's rage. Braxton calls him weird, so Chris drops him and aims his gun at him, but backs off. Braxton wonders if his brother ever thought about him. Chris had always known where he was, but wanted to keep him safe from some of his clients as they're dangerous. Braxton reminds him he's pretty dangerous himself, and Christian can see that, as his combat has improved. Lamar, who had been watching all this on the cameras, comes out to confront them. He regrets hiring Christian, as he just wanted to fix his books to go public. Instead, they uncovered his plan. He thinks their lives are not as important as what he could do for the world, but Christian swiftly eliminates him. Christian promises to see his brother again soon before leaving. At a press conference, Medina is named the person leading the investigation into Living Robotics, accepting her role as the accountant's contact.
Long hours of good old-fashioned investigative work.
At Harbor Neuroscience Lab, 2 parents bring in their autistic son. The boy begins wandering the grounds until he comes upon a room. Inside, he comes across the director's daughter, Justine. Justine is the same girl that befriended Christian all those years ago, and turns out to be his handler who communicates with a digital translator.
Hello, Dreamboat.
Dana returns to her apartment when she gets a delivery. It's a painting of dogs playing poker, a joke from Christian after a conversation they had, but behind that painting Dana finds the Pollock, his real gift for the girl that showed him kindness. In the end, Christian leaves Chicago, his trailer hitched and the open road before him. Thanks for watching. If you had a good time, go ahead and hit that like button, drop a comment, and of course, subscribe for more recaps just like this. And hey, don't click away just yet. YouTube thinks you'll love one of these two videos popping up right here, so check them out next.